I will call the public hearing to order, and we have two things on the public hearing. One has to do with Chapter 26, our solid waste management. We're making some changes to the placement of the trash cans. And the other one is Chapter 11, rental property registration. We're making some changes, we have it on the agenda, as far as the grass height. So I will open it for discussion on the trash containers first, and we'll let anyone who wants to address council on that come and speak. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record. Anyone who would like to talk to council on the trash can changes?
I thought we had made some changes to that thing as far as the language in there.
We have.
And I don't see it reflected in the...
Well, we'd have to amend it once we get there. We'd have to amend it from the old thing to the new thing.
Okay, but I mean, I didn't see the new language in there, that's why. Okay.
So anyone want to address council on the public hearing for the trash can?
Yes, put it at 7 p.m. the next morning.
Seeing none.
7 p.m.
The next one is Chapter 11, the public hearing on the changes to the grass height. Anyone who would like to address council on that?
I didn't see any, so.
Seeing none. Next thing is we will call the regular council meeting to order, and I will recognize Councilwoman Condon to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and the invocation.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Tonight as we gather, let's remember the Thanksgiving season and be grateful for all our blessings as families, as communities, and as a country. Especially on election night, we have so much to be grateful for the right to vote and the right to be heard. We thank the Lord for all of these things, and we appreciate His generosity and mercy. We always ask for His help in His Son's name. Amen.
Amen. Next item is the reading of the minutes for October 21st. Is there a motion for approval as written?
So moved.
And a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor then of the minutes being approved as written, do so with show of hands. And next item is the administrative briefing. Mr. Brown, anything you want to add?
Just a reminder that 2 weeks from now, the 15th of November, is our recycling event at Crossroads. Jack Buck has lots of different recycling this time, along with the shredding truck and tires and all kinds of good stuff, electronics.
Is that it?
Yes, sir.
Any questions, Mr. Brown, on the briefing?
Can you put an email out on that?
Sir?
Can you put an email out on that? Recycling event to everybody?
It'll be out on the list, sir.
You'll be in the paper this week. You'll be in the papers this week.
You need to get on Facebook, George. It's already been on Facebook.
That'll be Twitter and Instagram and everything else. It's never ends. I got a hard copy here.
Okay, good. Good.
Next item is receipt of communication, and we have two resolutions. One for Keep the Midlands Beautiful and one for Hurricane Builders. I know Beck is here from Keep the Midlands Beautiful, and I think I heard Jake's going to accept the one on behalf of Hurricane Builders.
On behalf of Hurricane.
Okay.
Make sure they get it.
And I think last time we stepped down here and presented them
For the photo op.
And then if you want to, Kathy, you can read them again.
I'm getting them.
And this was for?
Okay, this is for Hurricane. Who I thought Mr. Bluefish was. So. I already thanked him for building that nice playhouse.
He doesn't realize what all these might be building
I know,
down
he
there.
doesn't realize. Whereas Hurricane Construction Jose Romero and Richard Romero have donated the children's playhouse located in the children's garden at the community park of Irmo, and Hurricane Construction has provided a treasured addition to the children's garden. Significant contributions to our town. Be it therefore resolved, the town of Irmo does officially by this resolution extend its appreciation to Hurricane, to Jose Romero and Richard Romero for their contribution toward the development of the children's garden in the community park of Irmo. So they have our thanks.
Amen. Amen.
Picture.
You wait. Thank you, Dick. Thank them.
Because I'm the one that made the motion to write it.
They are willing also, they've indicated a willingness to help the Arbor Day Committee in the town in any way we need. They are a very real resource and a very dear friend of mine. They're a classic example of just some folks who come from basically abject poverty in Peru to a very fine company with a wonderful reputation, and it was just so kind. And the playhouse, I think, is tremendous. I wouldn't be happy if I could. And I keep thinking,
Ms. Black.
you're up. Well, you will be. Yes. Well, Jack wants me back.
You want to stand right here? Stand right here.
Being on the board, I guess I can come and take this one.
Whereas, Keep the Midlands Beautiful has assisted in obtaining donations for the playground construction in the community park. Be it resolved, the town of Irmo does officially by this resolution extend its appreciation to Keep the Midlands Beautiful for their contribution to the community park of Irmo. This was adopted the 21st of October when we didn't see you, so we're glad you're here now, and we appreciate everything you do.
So much.
And you do a lot.
$25,000, wasn't it?
18 this time, 5,000 last year.
That's right, $18,000.
And lots of recycling bins.
And recycling too, you said.
Lots of cleanups.
Lots of
Lots of
cleanups.
cleanup.
I think you still, you get them?
Did you get a
I got
photo?
several.
Good.
All right, everybody smile real big. Act like you know me.
Suck it in.
What's he got, a British or Australian camera? What kind
What
of
do you think?
Be careful.
Have you ever been to Australia? I think it's up there.
I saw your daughter back there.
Yeah, she did.
It was very exciting.
And the next thing on the agenda is the introduction of the new baseball stadium. For those that don't know, Bill Shanahan with the Blowfish has worked out a arrangement, I guess you call it, with Lexington County, and he's going to come by and kind of fill us in on everything that's going on.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me here tonight, along with our general manager, Kelly Evans. Kelly started with the Blowfish back in 2008 as a USC sports management intern, and has worked her way up from office manager to assistant general manager to general manager of the club. Blowfish get ready to enter their 10th season. We came to Columbia back in 2005, and we are now, the Blowfish have swam across the river and are heading to their new home in Lexington County. And we're very excited about this new collegiate baseball stadium which is being built out on Ballpark Road. We're taking an old piece of property that had 40 years of great memories of high school football and graduations, the old Wildcat Hollow, and bringing it back to life and putting it back on where some tax money can come out of it. But we're going to provide a lot of great family fun and entertainment. Our company will not only provide the Blowfish during the summer for great family fun and entertainment at the venue. It'll hold over 3,000, but it will be a year-round facility that will be looking to bring concerts, festivals, and other events, as well as baseball tournaments regionally, state, and also trying to bring other teams in from the north, collegiate teams that are looking for a place to play. What we'd like to do, present you right now, is just a little information. There's always a lot of questions about, who are the Blowfish, what's happening with the stadium, what's it look like, And I think that you'll all be very excited that Lexington County has its own team now and its own stadium. And it will open May 27th. And Kelly included in that a VIP pass for opening night, May 27th. We ask that you put that on your calendar. And in addition to a big reception pregame, there'll be on-field ceremonies and get to watch some great baseball as well. So please put that down on your calendar. We really have had, we've gone to all the town councils and sharing with you about this team and this new stadium, and it really is a great opportunity for Lexington County, and we hope that we can be a catalyst to help bring more venues like this for family entertainment to Lexington County. So we thank you, and if you have any questions for us, great. If not, I know baseball season is over, but it'll be here before you know it.
You still had the cute little mascot? The little...
Blowy?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He is.
Actually, Blowy is in White Rock right now getting refurbished. He's needing some repairs after the season, so, yeah. And, just real quick, a lot of people ask, I was talking to Jake, and he was asking about our team and our players. Our players are collegiate players. So these players come from, that are on our team from the University of South Carolina, from Clemson, College of Charleston, the Citadel, and other colleges and universities across the state and the nation. And in addition, a lot of these players are coming home to play. Last year we had a couple of kids out of Lexington High that are pitching at USC, and they were selected for our team and our recruitment. So we might have players out of Irmo and other places that will end up playing for the Blowfish. So it's a great opportunity to come out and really root on the home team.
Thank
you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I like that.
Chloe.
Next item is presentation by citizens for agenda items only. This is where if you want to speak to Irmo Town Council on anything that's on the agenda tonight, that would be the time you may do so. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record. Anyone who would like to address the council on anything on the agenda? Seeing none. Next item is second reading of ordinance 1412 to amend the Irmo Town Code, solid waste management. This is the section where we're making some changes on the trash can removals. We do have the changes from Jake that came in. What we need to do is make a, if we want to, is make a make a motion for second reading, and then get a second, and then if we want to amend it to the new one, then we can amend it to the new one. So is there a motion for second reading?
Okay. We're gonna make this motion.
For what's in the book, what was already done,
Okay.
and then if we want to change it to the new one, then we'll amend it to that one. Or we can amend it to anything else or whatever.
Oh, I make that motion.
And is there a second? I will second. So any discussion?
Yeah, okay, we're good. The times are 7 p.m. and 7 p.m., right?
Well, the old one right now has 7 to 7:30. That's the original one. The one that we just made a motion on is 7 to 7:30.
7 o'clock p.m. to 7:30 p.m.?
7 o'clock a.m. to 7:30 p.m.
Same day.
Yeah, same day.
But we're changing it. What you got in your hand is the change.
Yeah,
Okay.
this one is a change.
Are y'all trying to confuse me?
What do you
Okay.
mean? I don't have it in my hand. What are you talking about in my hand? I
There
don't
was
have
one
it.
on your
You
space.
have one down here. That's it.
Oh,
Okay. So this is the new, okay, got it.
That would be the amendment.
We want to amend it to 7 a.m. on the day of collection and 7 a.m. the next day,
Following
the
day.
24 hour. Okay.
okay.
Yeah, I mean, is there, you want to make a motion?
Yeah, I
do
want to
that?
make an amendment on that.
All right, so we want to amend it from what's on the book, or what's
Yeah.
second reading, to this one here, that Jake's
We
written.
want to change it too, right? Okay.
Uh-huh.
Now, you're going to take all the amendments at one time?
We can, or we can do each one at a
Okay.
thing.
I have an amendment as well. I'm looking, I agree totally with the 7 a.m. to 7 a.m. on the following day. The part that I have a problem with is that when not at curbside on the day of collection, the containers shall be placed out of sight of the roadway or shall be placed within 3 feet from the side or rear of the residence. I took it upon myself just to ride through Old Friars Gate, not every street, but until I counted 39 homes that would be in violation of that. Because they have rolled their Herbie-Kirby up to and in front of their garage door or right at the edge of their garage. So it has not been moved within 3 feet of the side or rear, and it is visible from the roadway. So, I mean, and that's just going in and out of my subdivision. I hate to think of the numbers that would be involved in the rest of town, you know, and people have been putting them there for years, really. I agree, we don't need them down by the curb, but to some folks, that's the logical place to place it.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote.
Some of them have grills there too, so.
I wrote through multiple, like you said, and noticed that a lot of places. And I'll say this, I think for years people have been taking them off the road, most. But there's X amount of people that don't even take them off the road, or they put them in the front yard, or they put them at the front door. Then there's a lot of people that put them to the side or the rear, or wherever. And then there's some that just stick them in front of the garage. I don't know. In my opinion, that's only mine, then they should be stuck to the side of the house, or somewhere at least the best they can, out of view, out of sight. They're not going to be completely out of sight, but at least they're kind of, or people are just going to be stick them in the front, because there's really no way to.
But not in the garage, because we already heard that's not a good idea.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the best way is, other than if you say put it to the side or rear out of sight, then at least they get it out of the front yard, which that's still, in a way, kind of still the front. But we still have that exemption in there, which I want to make a change of that too, that would allow somebody to come and say, you know, for whatever reason, I can't put it to the side or the rear. Can I put it here? And if they have, you know, I want to say if they're a senior citizen or wheelchair or something to that effect, one thing. If they're just doing it because they don't want to drag it around to the side of the house because they're whatever, then yeah, I'm thinking, well, they just need to put it on the side of the house.
Well, maybe a possible compromise would, the main problem, we need to get them off the street. That's a safety issue.
They're off the street right now they can get them off the street, but they can put them 10 foot away, and that's, according to our ordinance now, that's fine. Or they can put them on the front porch, which is.
If you just said, say, were placed within 3 feet of the house, then it could be on the front, it could be on the side, it could be off the back.
We've had some people put them on their front porch. And that's kind of one of the things too, it's kind of like, well, because that's what they'll say, that's what they'll tell, what's his name? Well, it's 3 feet, it's on my front porch, what's wrong with that? Then we're back to.
So you think the best thing to do is 3 feet from the side or rear? Okay.
That's only my thinking, but, you know.
Yeah, but most houses don't have side. I mean, the houses he's talking about.
Well, they can get around there. And like for one, I know on one road, for instance,
you put them in the garage.
The driveway's here. There's a brick wall about this tall, and instead of taking it around the brick wall and putting it inside the house, they just put it in the front.
Dialysis equipment.
If they put it around the side, probably could. If they were told they probably would. But if they're not, I don't know. I think it's, a sad day when we have to kind of, like an ordinance, tell people where to put the trash can, but if you don't, then they just stick it in the front yard and stick it in the front. And like the one neighbor, he was putting it within 1 foot of the property line of his neighbors, just to be whatever.
And you have some that, if you look at, you mentioned that, as you look at some of the houses that have shrubbery on the side of the house, and you said it beside the side of the house, by the shrubbery, is going to be within that 3 foot of the property line.
Yeah. Well, some it might not be, but it would be, So, I mean, there's no really, what I say, there's no really perfect place.
What if you just take out the side of the roadway out?
And put what,
Just take that out of side of the roadway.
I think you could do it by just saying out the side of the roadway.
Just like everything is outside.
Outside of the roadway and within 3 feet of the residence.
Right.
Well,
Take out side and rear and side of the roadway.
But the garbage people, they don't put the can in the roadway when they're through with it, do they?
Many times they do.
Yeah, they
in the
do.
roadway.
they still live.
wherever it falls, that's where it is.
But the only thing we're saying within, or taking out within, or whatever side, is then you're going to still have those homes where they're putting it on the front porch, which is something we're not eliminating.
They really should. That's very unattractive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Next to sofa.
All right, my amendment will be to strike from the word out of sight of the roadway or shall be placed. Strike that. And then it would read, when not at curbside on the day of collection, containers shall be placed within 3 feet of the residence.
But then it could be on the front porch.
It could be on the front porch. If you want to add, exclude the front porch to that, I'll accept that. But
But what if we say within 3 feet of whatever you said?
3 feet of the residence. I'm striking.
Excluding the front porch.
But not within 10 foot of the front door or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
Okay, I'll accept that.
All right, so let me get this back again. When not on the curbside of day of collection, containers shall be placed
within 3 feet of the residence.
3 feet of the residence. What did I just say?
And not on the, or with, not within 10 feet of the front porch or something like that?
Excluding, no, or
And not within
not within 10 feet of the front
10
porch.
feet of front door.
Keep in mind, my dad's house, the garbage can's 500 feet from the road. And it's not 3 feet with his house.
Oh, that's true.
All right. And the only other thing I wanted to change is on that last sentence, the exemptions to the location of the container may be permitted in writing by the town administrator.
Okay, that's good.
So that anybody can write to us that he has to permit it in writing, something they have
Maybe permitted?
permitted in writing by the town administrator. So,
Wait a minute, you have to request it, don't you?
yeah, they would have to request it, which they were going to do anyway. I mean, they'd have to call us up or they, whatever.
They've got to get a
But we
permit.
got to get, we'd give them something in writing. Or we'd have it here in writing, give it to them in writing, but, so why don't we do this? If you'll make a motion, finish your motion to amend it to the new one that Jake's written, to the ones that we just changed altogether. And you
Okay.
can second
I
that
so
amendment.
amend. You want me to read it?
If you want to, or...
No, I don't care, whatever you want.
Well, I'll go ahead and read it and see if I got it right.
Okay.
Containers shall be placed at curbside no later than 7 a.m. on the day of collection. Containers shall be removed from the curbside no later than 7 a.m. on the following day. When not at the curbside on the day of collection, containers shall be placed within 3 feet of the residence and not within 10 feet of the front door. Containers shall be kept in a manner so as to not create a fire, environmental, or safety hazard. Exceptions to the location of the container may be permitted in writing by the town administrator.
Okay, that's what I got.
And who's seconds?
Yeah, I second that.
So, Any discussion about everything we just did?
I think we ought to vote before we forget what we did.
Yeah. So all in favor then of the amendment as made, do so with show of hand. And then all in favor of second reading as amended, do so with show of hands. Great. Next one is second ordinance of our second reading of ordinance 1413 to amend the Irmo Town Code, Chapter 11, rental property, Section 1112, standards for residential unit -10, where we're changing the grass, and that right now says grass can't be over 12 inches. We're changing it from 12 to 6. Is there a second for that reading?
Do we need to talk about that?
We can if we get a second, but
Okay, I'll second it.
Who made the first?
oh, she's making a motion. Yeah,
She's making a motion.
We made a motion.
And
Do we
we'll
need a second?
Yeah.
Anybody second it? I will.
Do you have any?
Um,
I don't have, do you have any ordinance?
No. This is the one where we're going from, it's made and seconded, right?
Yeah, from 12 inches to 6 inches on,
Oh, it's, wait a minute, it's in this email, hold on.
from grass height on the rental property.
I've tried those.
Here it is.
Somewhere where it says that.
Oh, it's, I don't think it's, is it
It's not
finished?
in there, that's what I'm saying.
It's in the,
Yeah.
what Kim sent to us in an email that has all of the documents.
Amend 12 to 6, it's down here.
Yeah, that's about all it says.
It's there, yeah, that's all it says.
And again, that's
I
where,
mean, what, 12 or 6?
I think,
Grass height,
Where's it say?
grass height.
what's his name, Corporal
Okay, where's it say 12 at?
I'm sorry.
Here?
Sergeant, right
Let me
here.
just-
Sergeant.
Where's it say 12
Sergeant.
or 10? That's what I'm saying, the language. Is it- I understand it's amendment down here.
Yeah,
Where's it
Well,
say
we've had
here?
complaints on the grass height, and right now the ordinance says the grass can't be over 12 inches on rental property. And so,
Where
You
does it
know,
say that?
well,
they
Not
erased
down there.
well, go
They
ahead.
erased it.
Where does it say that?
They're having their
Ready
own
for
conversation.
discussion?
Yeah,
all
yeah.
right, I'm going to discuss. I understand the situation totally. However, I think we're going to start down a slippery slope where you got to determine what is grass and what is weed. And are we going to measure weeds differently than grass? I know some of these little weeds that will pop up, you can actually sit out and watch it grow when we get some of the torrential rains we've been getting. And the grass would never be that high because it just is the type of grass that wouldn't grow that high.
So we
But to
shouldn't
say
call it
that-
grass? We need to call it something else?
Well,
Vegetation?
are you going to come and make an abatement notice if somebody's got grass that's 4 inches tall and some little weeds that are popping up like this, that popped up within 24 to 48 hours? You going to issue an abatement notice?
No.
Well, if you did, they would probably cut it. But then we have an officer that will go around and say, well, I've issued one abatement notice. If I issue a second one within a year, it's $1,000.
$1,000.
I think we got a problem there.
Plus we have to give them all tape measures.
Why were we changing it to 6?
Because the neighbors complaining about
Oh, okay.
property looking
Okay, got it.
bad.
You know, we go out and we put an abatement notice out when it's 12, 14, 16 inches. And then we wait until somebody comes to council and complains, and we go out and we issue another abatement notice. But we expect a resident, when an abatement notice is issued, to correct the problem within 10 days. If we're going to be that hard, why aren't we going to correct that problem and put a lien against property?
This is true.
Well, and the other alternative, or the other, I guess, side of it, is, you know, at some point, I think it was Elmer Denko said before, if we got ordinance, we need to enforce them. When the code enforcement goes out there and says, well, we can't enforce this for whatever reason, the sightline, sanitary, and all that other stuff, or he goes out to the property and the grass is, say, 12 inches tall or 11, and he still has to have a ruler for that. so to speak. And whether it's weeds or whether it's grass, comes back to the police department. And all the neighbor knows is, well, they went out there and didn't do nothing. Why? The grass is still high, the grass still looks like whatever, and y'all didn't do nothing. And then you call Sergeant, what day was it last week? I don't know if you got that information. I had a lady call me that lives on Grantham.
411 Grantham.
Yeah, 411. She called and said her neighbor has left a trash can in the middle of the road. He leaves it all there a week. She went over and asked him, and he said, if you don't like it, put it where you want to. And I asked her, I said, well, did you tell him where to put it? She didn't. And she said, and he ain't cut his grass all summer. Now, I called Bob to go over there, but because it's a rental home, it has to be over 12 inches. I don't know where it was or not, but like I told her, I said, we can send code enforcement out there, but all he has to do is put his trash can 2 foot away from the curb and he's compliant. All he's got to do is, if it ain't over 12 inches, there's nothing we can do. And is that what we want to tell people over and over? It's nothing we can do because the grass is 11.5 inches tall, and then, yeah, it looks like heck, but it's still in compliance. Now, I don't know if we went out there and couldn't do anything because it wasn't over 12, or the guy put it 2 foot away from the curb or what. But that's kind of what I'm saying. We need to address these things as they come up one at a time here and there until we kind of get it, I won't say fixed, but there's not much he can do when he goes out there except to leave. And then, as Elmer said a couple of weeks ago, they make complaints, people make complaints, we send people out, they come back, nothing gets done. And it's not because, it's because our ordinance doesn't give code enforcement anything to do. And that's why I think we need to change some of that from 12. I think we started out with 8, now it's at 6. So that code enforcement can go out there and at least tell the people, hey, do I expect them to write up a ticket if one section of his grass is 12 and the other section is 4? Hopefully not, but, and I don't think we probably would. But then again, I think we ought to be able to have something that they can go out there and tell the people, okay, your grass is too tall, cut it. And whether it's weeds or grass.
Yeah, I think 12 inches kind of takes into the weeds.
Yeah.
It encompasses the weeds.
If somebody has a lot of weeds at 12 inches, then their yard looks pretty ready. And that's when people start calling. So
6 inches is not much.
most grass doesn't be over 4. Most grass, centipede and all that, probably 2 inches.
Yeah, so
St. Augustine
what's
is
wrong
probably
with
3 or 4.
8's not.
We started with 8 and then we changed it to 6 last time.
I like 8. 6 is not much. I'm just put it in there to look at it, and it's.
What about having the majority of the yard? Majority of the yard, front or back, 6 inches. Because dandelions grow 6 inches overnight.
That's what I couldn't think of dandelion, but that's the little weed I was talking about.
The majority of the yard.
Well, dandelions, you should make a salad with that one.
Well,
eat those.
I'll give you all you want.
Well, the only thing, and I would say, I don't know what she would say, but if we say majority, what does that do?
I don't know.
When
I
you're
know what
trying
it means, but I don't know how you say it.
Code enforcement go out. Is that going to be more speculative? Or they can't?
Somebody's yard looks like garbage. Clearly it needs to be cut.
But unsightly, you need to specify.
Well, but then again, it's a relative term. It's unlikely you might be what I designed it to be.
When you start talking about unsightly, there are many yards around that have no grass.
Yeah, like
Are we going to measure the size of the rocks in the yard?
Well, if they got no grass, then it would never get over.
That's right.
4 or 5 or 3.
But unsightly it is.
I like 8 better than 6.
Now, there's always maybe a wit question. That's always the
12.
Where's wit? Right there. What do you think?
He doesn't want to get in on this one.
My vote would be for 6.
For 6? Okay, I'll vote with Whit. He's our grass expert.
And I think if I'm correct, St. Augustine gets to like 3 or 4, and that's about,
Most grasses aren't going to get over 4 inches.
yeah, most of them are like 2.
Well, the Bermuda doesn't even get that high, does it? Bermuda just grows.
Unless it's
grows up.
seeding or something like that, but it doesn't normally get that high. So any changes, or leave it at 6?
Leave it
or
at 6 is okay, yeah, I'm with Whit.
Any more discussion?
That's going to give them enough ammunition to get something done? Is that
I would
gonna
hope
give
so.
them ammunition to get something done?
I mean, we're giving them, in my mind, and I would say we're giving them probably 3 inches grace already. Or something, 2 or 3 or something, because it ain't gonna get that high.
My point is this, is 6, is that going to give code enforcement enough power, enough?
I think it makes it
Basic
simple,
power.
like you said, just go stick a ruler in the ground, and hopefully they'll be, not picking out the only place in the yard that it grows high and everything else.
Well,
doesn't.
they don't even have to have a ruler today. They got the abatement notice. All they got to do is stand it up. And it gives them a 1-inch variance.
So, any more discussion? Ready? All in favor then of the amendment to change it from 12 to 6, do so with show of hands. And all opposed? All right, next item is new business appointment of orchestra. If I've got this stuff from Bob correctly, there were 2 terms expiring. One was Bob Janeski, one was Kurt Luther. Kurt Luther sent something in saying he wants to serve, and then a gentleman, James Mack, has sent something in, says he wants to serve. And then also, right now, there are 5 voting members. Kurt Luther, Bob Janeski, who is not wanting to serve anymore, Annette Butler, Kathy Campbell, and Larry Slaughter. Our ordinance allows them to have up to 7. They have 2 members, Kim Oliver and Louise Myers, who serve on the Orchestra Commission but are non-voting members, who have asked to be placed on there as voting members. So we have 2 different things really to kind of decide. Do we want to move them up to voting members? And do we want to accept Kurt Luther and James Mack or James Mack as a new member and accept Kurt Luther's letter to continue to serve. And then if there's anybody that wants to nominate somebody else that they know of, they can make that nomination too. But any nomination for appointments?
This is for a 4-year term or a 2-year term? Or what is it?
Are they 3-year?
Oh, the 3-year term.
3-year terms? Okay.
So these 2 would be for 3-year terms.
Mr. Mayor, I would just say, as in the past, council has always looked to the Orchestra Commission to recommend who they wish to be working with, and I would recommend that we honor their request.
So James Mack and Kurt Luther to be reappointed to the Orchestra Commission.
Well, Kurt Luther to be reappointed.
Okay.
James Mack to be appointed, not reappointed.
Yeah.
And then the reappointment of Kim Oliver and Louise Myers
As
voting members.
Any other appointments or whatever? All in favor then, as Harvey's mentioned, do so with show of hands. All righty. You need these?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next item is discussion regarding the financial status of the orchestra operating budget. 2 things I want to say before we go into this. I hope that we can discuss this stuff, not necessarily how we got to where we are right now, but where we are right now. And then next Monday or Tuesday or whatever day we decide, then at that meeting, we can sit down and discuss where we want to go. How do we fix it, where we want to go, or that kind of thing. I've asked Kim and Bob basically to do this report that basically shows off the town record software, whatever you want to call it. There's two different reports because of the way our software and our budget works. But there's the first one called the history detail that basically runs from January through June. And then there's the other one called the detailed listing that runs from July 1st through whatever day, October, last week she ran it. There's a lot of information in there about where the orchestra started, where it is today, and basically according to her, I think she highlighted it almost, is after some adjustments for last year's activity and yada yada yada, the thing started with $27,830 in the operating account, and I think on that other page, 16 something, whatever it was,
Savings.
in the savings account. And then based on that second report that runs from July through October, I think the last figure on there is 4,240 is what's in the operating account, and I think it was 10,000 in the, no, 6,000. Yeah, 6,000 something. 6,000 something in the savings.
6,000 saving, 4,000 in checking, right?
Yeah.
3,000 checking now.
3,000.
Another check.
That's right, 3,000 in checking, I'm sorry.
And what that does is kind of give us a up-to-date, so to speak, dollar amount of where the orchestra is financially. You know, and again, I don't want to, you know, even myself, I don't want to talk about how we got there, what mistakes, who, what, where, when, whose fault it is, and everything else. But just kind of mainly agree, if we can, whatever, that this is where we financially are, so that when we have the meeting next week, we don't have to spend a whole lot of time discussing where we are, but we can spend more time then maybe discussing how do we fix it, what do we need to do, what ideas, what solution, whatever. And I don't know if y'all have any questions on this report, this dollar amount, as far as if there's anything missing or not put on there, or accurate, or whatever. But that's kind of what I want to run that for too, so we can just discuss it and see.
You ready for discussion?
Yeah.
Okay. It's kind of hard to have gone through it real close, just getting it this evening. But I totally agree. We're in, the strut is in a very precarious position right now. I think what you've prepared here, or asked the town to prepare, is maybe 10 pieces of a 100-part puzzle. And there's so many things that just jump right out at you that kind of put us in this position. And I totally agree with needing to have a workshop, because I don't think that very many in town or on council understands many of the issues around the orchestra and putting on the festival. You know, you've listed some things here as expenses, and they are legitimate expenses, but you know, there are things that were larger expenses than this that you didn't bother to list. I mean, I don't know. No, I don't know that many people know that there was over $8,000 paid out to Lexington and Richland County Sheriff's Department employees.
But that came from the town, did it not?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Just the town police.
I'm talking about this one that you provided here this evening for us.
Who paid the police? Didn't we make a rule? Didn't we pass the...
For Irmo police.
Okay.
But the Irmo police brought in, I think it was 24 or 26 deputies from Richland, Lexington County.
The entire festival, we had roughly total police protection is roughly 60 some odd officers. And we actually reduced the expenses from the 2013 overstruck to the 2014 overstruck by just over $4,000. We reduced what the cost was.
I know that over $8,000 was paid out. Cash receipts were rendered with all their information, Social Security numbers and everything on the 2 nights of the festival. That was just $8,000. When you look at the cost of just the tents, the tables, the chairs, the extra lighting that we were told we had to have because of opening the roads, again, that is about another $6,000.
Every time you bring up something, though, I want to ask you questions. I think we ought to do this with the
workshop. And I think we ought to do this at a workshop.
I think, because when you say something, I'm going, okay, yeah, but what about the, because I'm sitting here with the invoice and the check going, what?
Right.
Well, and let me say, there's for the public, there's 2 reports. There's one here off the computer, and there's this analysis that Bob did that basically breaks down somebody. It doesn't have all, because I just asked him, put on there the main things as far as revenue and the main things expenses, so we can have an idea of.
Because there are hundreds of payments.
Oh, yeah. What gets paid where. But some of that stuff, there's, I don't want to say $100 here and $100 there, but these were the main things he listed just that are continual every year. And that's where that one is. And that is just a analysis, so if we have questions on how much comes in from this, or how much comes in for that, or how much comes, whatever.
I'd like to have an opportunity to go over it with council, because just bottom line, to put the festival on this year, there was $78,000 committed before the first ticket was ever sold.
I know, a lot of money. And a lot of articles have been written, a lot of statements have been made.
78,000?
78,000.
Before
the first tickets ever sold.
That anybody who questioned anything didn't like the orchestra and wanted it to end. That ain't true, Mr. Dozier.
And it's not because I don't want
I'm
to
a
stop
strong proponent of it, and I have been always. The only thing I'm saying is, if we're going to run this with town money, with public money, with tax money that's not ours, I think we ought to let Bob and Kim run the money, and we'll do whatever we're supposed to do. That's my only, I want the orchestra to flourish, and I think that's the only way it's going to. But I'm willing to discuss too.
Doesn't Bob and Kim run the money now?
No, they don't, no.
Who runs the money?
We write the checks, but the commission
That's what I'm saying, they
decides.
write the checks, okay?
We write the checks, surprises sometimes not.
Yeah, they write the checks, but they don't actually.
We don't have, all right, nobody's got a real budget.
Yeah.
No, we have,
We don't create a budget, they create a
That's what I'm
budget.
looking at.
And then,
this is a budget?
no, this is a
No,
report.
orchestra budget that they give us every year.
Okay, it's not exactly always that way.
Oh, okay.
And the orchestra budget they
You want an
give us.
example? The
I saw a
writer.
budget. I saw a budget,
Okay.
orchestra budget.
Yeah. And they put on that budget too, for instance, they're going to get 40,000 in sponsorships and they get 2022. So,
And some of this is, I understand, you know,
and I think that's the stuff we need to discuss at the workshop. I just want to make sure we all are kind of on the same wavelength with this, that this is where we stand.
Yeah.
We got
3,000
problems and we
You know,
need to solve them.
6,000.
We use volunteers, and we use that term very loosely.
Yeah, we do.
Because we pay volunteers.
Yeah.
I doubt many people realize that it costs $1,140 to open a ticket booth before the ticket booth's ever sold, before a ticket is ever sold.
Because they don't really want to volunteer. They're doing it to get a...
They're doing it to earn money for their
Yeah.
charitable organization.
That's right.
And I think that's a good idea. It
Yeah,
helps them,
it's been that way
and it helps them get money for their,
for years and years and years, and
so, if we're all in agreement, then that's kind of the finances where we are.
Well, I
Then the
think
next,
the workshop's the best time.
yeah, and then the next, and again, hopefully at the workshop, we can talk about, I don't want to say how we got there, but to some degree we'll have to, but more about how do we
change? How do we make it work?
there are some places that we can cut, you know, especially after we've had 1 year in a location. There's definitely some things that you look at, but
and then we can use this thing that Bob did, this analysis, to kind of give us a better idea. And if there's some categories, expenses or whatever, that you'd like Bob to look at too, let him know, and he can update this to add those categories. So we can kind of tell what we did in each line item, I guess you call it.
Like I said, it's all in here.
And then, yeah, 'cause a lot of it's in there, but
It probably is.
it's
Right.
harder to find it in there as opposed to just looking on this sheet and going, okay, here's what we know. That little thing. So the next thing would be, do we want to meet Monday or Tuesday or what?
Tuesday's Veterans Day.
Time?
Tuesday's Veterans Day holiday.
Oh, that's right.
So is Monday better for
Monday?
you?
Yes.
Okay,
6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or what?
whatever, doesn't matter.
Monday the 10th. Anytime suits me.
It's fine.
6? Want to do it early?
I don't care. Whatever time y'all can get there.
4.
Kathy and I are retired.
Yeah, I can get there anytime you say.
I can't get off at 4.
Then let's do it at
Yeah, let's do it at 12.
Well, you set the
We'll be
time,
over.
and we'll go from there.
I mean, I like
What time do you
6.
close?
I close at 6.
Okay.
But- And I can get out there a little bit early, but, so 6 o'clock, November the 10th.
Okay.
And then you'll let the orchestra people know, Kurt Luther, and everybody know, so they can be here too.
If they want to, we got one here.
Yeah, where is Kurt Luther at?
Not here.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, Monday.
The next thing on here, and we may not need this, we may still need it, that's up, was an approval, and I'll say this for 2 things. I put this on here, one, in case we couldn't get to a resolution that here's where we stand financially, then we may need an audit to figure it out. If we agree that here's where we stand financially, then we may not need it. But I know someone else was kind of want me to put that on there too and kind of see if we need it, but whether we do or not, that's up to everybody. But the next item is an approval to hire an independent auditor to review the 2014 orchestra. So is there, well, that's an approval, so is there a motion for approval?
Shouldn't we defer it till after the workshop?
Well, I mean,
I don't know, I'm just asking.
and honestly, in my opinion, I'll just say this,
Spend more money?
since we're
Don't start with me.
not arguing about where we stand, and these records are good, and I'm happy, then I don't think we need one, because I know
Yeah, the
where we
town
are.
records are good, I
The town
know.
records are good. We're 3,000 in one account and 6,000 in the other.
Right.
I think that's right. something
That's
like
right.
that.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know that we need this, because we all know.
We've been down that road before. It's
Yeah.
terribly expensive
Well, and it'll
because
audit,
people felt like they needed to talk with the auditor.
it'll audit
Okay.
Kim's records, which we know are right,
Yeah,
or I know are
and
right.
I think in years past, we weren't in agreement as to whatever. so
There's
we
no
had
way to
one bid.
audit the orchestra, because it's a vibrant, it's a,
Well, they can audit it, it just,
well, I don't
they're
know.
gonna come up with the same thing, I would think, that Kim's got here.
They are.
So, all right.
$80,000 worth?
No, it costs us like 5,000 or 6,000 or
No, it was
something.
more.
He wanted about 30,000 that we
Yeah,
refused to pay.
$30,000.
It was a lot.
But the last
That's
time
a
we had
lot.
it checked, 3 years ago, and we had the first strut out here, Millhouse was still our auditor, and they came out during the Oka strut, and they checked the bank out, and they went to the ticket booths, and, they were around.
But that one that Millhouse did last year, or the year before, whenever. it
3
was.
years ago, because we've had the same auditor the last 2 years.
The one that you requested
Yeah.
before, and he charged an arm and a leg because you
30
called him on
years?
the phone.
That was the first year out here.
Yeah.
Been 3 years.
Dang. Time
But
flies.
they didn't find anything then.
Having so much fun up here, it just zooms by.
And that was $30,000 bill.
I don't think it was
No,
that
he didn't
much.
charge us that much. He charged us like, he said he was gonna charge us
$1,500.
$1,500 and
Ended
we,
up being around 6.
yeah, got up to 5
Yeah.
or 6, right.
Oh, that's.
Because they wanted to charge for all those phone calls and riding over
Right,
here.
right,
and-
that was
Well, you're the one running on it to mouth now, but that was you.
Well, I had some questions of him. I didn't know he was charging me by the minute with his little clicker there.
We didn't either.
Yeah.
Even at.
I don't think he did either until he just made it up. But anyway.
It cost us $4,000.
Yeah, no, 22. But he was going to charge us 18. I don't think we paid it anyway, did we?
We didn't.
Yeah. So I didn't cost nothing. He didn't pay it.
We had a contract with him. We told him we weren't paying all that.
Yeah. Anyway, approval to hire an independent contractor. There was no motion, so therefore that fails. Next thing is presentation by citizens. This is where anyone who wants to address Irmo Council on anything, whether it's on the agenda or not on the agenda or who knows what, may do so at this time. All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. George Glassmeyer, 100 Deadbeck Road. Ladies and gentlemen, since the last meeting, I became rather curious about some issues involving the orchestra, and I submitted a number of FOIA, Freedom of Information Act requests for documents to Town Hall, which were handled professionally and expeditiously, and I got those documents. And I was able to learn a lot from those documents. Initially, some things that jumped out at me is I found some problems with the policy the Town Hall had as to naming the payee on funds that were due to various vendors. There was a practice in place where the checks were not being made out to the same name as the vendor. And more importantly, I found a problem with tax reporting to the IRS. The town was not acquiring W-9s or generating 1099s to the vendors. And to Mr. Brown's credit, he promptly acknowledged these problems and moved very expeditiously and decisively to issue some corrective action. And I'm not faulting Mr. Brown so much in this conversation. What my concern is I'm not a CPA, I'm not an auditor, and I'm certainly not a CPA that's an auditor that's been retained by the town to do this. I feel that the auditor that the town's paying for should have caught these problems and not me. And if this is, these just jump right out at me, and again, I'm not a CPA. And if the auditors that you're paying aren't doing this, I would encourage you to look very strongly at firing them and finding some auditor that will at least find these problems.
Thank you for that, Mr. Glassmeyer. I appreciate you letting us know, because we did not know, and that's fairly serious.
Well, I couldn't agree more. You're dispersing thousands of dollars of funds to people and not accounting for it. You're not generating 1099, so the IRS never knows about it. And, to say the least, that's a pretty graphic tax fraud.
Yes.
And arguably the town's assisting them in doing that. They're not generating 1099s. Where appropriate. Let's talk about the orchestra now. I am not opposed to the orchestra, and I'd very much like to see it continue to flourish. I've certainly had some issues over the years with the site selection, which I've been rather vocal about. I think Mr. Hoots will back me up on that.
Yes.
But I'd like to see the orchestra become profitable. Now, as a result of my FOIA request, some of the documents I received, I asked for documents that reveal the revenue for each of the vendors in the most recent orchestra, and the orchestra generates this form called a vendor redemption form that they forward on to Town Hall to enable Kim to cut the checks for the net due to the vendors. This form has the total tickets that the vendor turned in, the equivalent revenue, and the vendor fee if applicable. I went through these, and I noticed that I found at least 5 of these in which no vendor fee was assessed. In one case, the vendor generated over $9,700 in revenue, and there's no vendor fee assessed, which is 20% for most of the other vendors. That alone, that's $2,000 in potential revenue that wasn't garnered there, as I see it. Also, I got some information that there were some 75 participants in the orchestra parade, and only 13 of them paid the parade fee to participate. Now, I understand there's going to be some participants in the parade that it wouldn't be appropriate to accept or solicit a vendor fee from, such as the Irmo High School Band. And I'm fine with that, but I can't believe that there were 62 of those that are exempted from that. Now, last week, I emailed a request to Susan Hoots for details about that, as far as what the policy is and how many are actually collected, and why the 62 that presumably weren't collected, why not? And I'm still awaiting a response from her on that. But there's a potential $6,000 in revenue that could have been collected right there. So far, I've identified just at first blush a potential $8,000 in revenue that wasn't collected. And I'm fearful that this is just the tip of the iceberg. I would encourage you to look at those two issues in particular at your workshop next week. The final issue I want to talk about is the conversation I had with Mr. Walker here at the last meeting, by the presentation by citizens. You recall, Mr. Walker, I asked you about, I told you that I had information that you had a vendor booth at the Upper Strut, and you specifically and categorically denied that. You said you didn't have one, but your wife Susan did. And frankly, the evidence doesn't support your statement. What I have here is a vendor redemption form. And the vendor's name on there is Maxoff Maine and Barry Walker. That's your business and your name, is it not, sir? Mr. Walker? Is that not your business and your name? What I did not find in all these documents for the vendor redemption form is any vendor with your wife's name on it. Do you care to explain why that is? When you said you didn't have a booth? You don't care to respond to that? Well, you also said that your wife managed the booth, and I believe your exact words were, she's the president of the company. Well, a little bit concerned about that too, because what I have here is a canceled check from the town of Irmo made payable to Barry A. Walker Sr. for the same amount, to cover the amount of the vendor redemption form for Barry Walker. It is apparently signed by you, it's been processed by the bank. Now, I'm at a loss to understand why you're accepting and negotiating a check from the town of Irmo for a booth you didn't have. It would seem to me that those are ill-gotten funds, and you owe the town the money back if you accepted money for a booth you don't have. And if she's the president of the company, why is the check made payable to you, and why are you accepting it? I don't understand that. You explain that for us, please, sir? I think the town's entitled to know. You referred me to your wife last week. You dodged my question and referred me to your wife, and I went to her, and her response to virtually every question I asked her was, talk to Susan Hicks. Well, you know what? I did that. And one of the questions I asked you, Mr. Walker, and I'll quote, I asked you, was you or your wife's booth assessed the same vendor's fee that other vendors were in the same manner? And your response was, quote, I don't know, unquote. Well, it seems like you should know, because again, the vendor redemption form with your business name on it and your name shows festival percentage 0. So indeed, no vendor fee was assessed. Now, per your wife's advice, I talked to Susan Hughes personally, and she told me that you personally, prior to the Upper Strut event, that you personally negotiated with her a fee waiver such that you would provide the food for the various band participants in exchange for a waiver on your booth fee. Now, again, when I asked you that very specific question, you said, I don't know. But she says that you negotiated a fee waiver. Now, that tells me that somebody's lying, Mr. Walker. Who is it, you or Susan Hoots? Somebody lied. Who was it? If I don't hear from you, I have to assume it's you. You're not denying it. Either you or Susan Hoots lied. I'd like to know who. You're very quiet here, Mr. Walker. I think, in my estimation, and since you're not responding to me, the only conclusion I can draw is that at the last town meeting, you lied to me, this council, and the whole town no less than 4 times in a time frame of 2 minutes. And don't take my word for it, ladies and gentlemen. It's on video. You can go to the town website and watch the meeting. The responses are on there, and so are my questions. And I have great concerns when somebody who's an elected official in my town that asked for this job, and you're on my payroll, Mr. Walker. I don't appreciate being lied to about what you do and don't know about the distribution of town funds. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else who would like to address Irmo Town Council on anything on the agenda or not on the agenda? All we ask is you give us your name and address for the record.
Andy Marino, 142 Sonny Road, Sonoma. I think that members of the council should be beyond reproach on their carrying on with their businesses, and that reproach doesn't exist, should step down from council. My comments are kind of light compared to what's been brought forth. I was going back to the last noise meter where we had the concert. I understand that the council got a little decimeter or something, and I was curious to find out what the readings were. And I sat in my patio and listened to the noise, and it wasn't that bad. The choice of music, I went for an hour and a half, and there was only three numbers that really came out were not acceptable to me. But I was curious to find out what the readings were. Do we have anything?
You could hear that at your house on that Thursday night?
Yeah.
And you said three numbers, you mean three songs, or?
Yeah. At 6:40, the Dylan harmonica was okay. The drum lead in at 6:47 was okay, but became a bit louder when the Riding Cowboy came about and was not acceptable. 7 o'clock opening drum number was interrupted by the train whistle that superseded the so you can understand. And then there was an overhead playing as well. But yes, besides Riding Cowboy and a little keyboard and drum solo that lasted for about a minute and a half, there were three numbers that were unacceptable.
They set their band up. We were behind the amphitheater. We were 94 decibels. And as we went back to the back parking lot, which was closer to where property line is, we were down to 72 decibels. And back into the woods to our property line, we were at 63 decibels.
My lawnmower makes more noise than that.
Well, and we thought that was acceptable.
Did you go to his house?
No, I did not. I walked around the park and I took greetings from all over the park, and we...
What is, I know one of our colleagues brought paperwork. What is acceptable decibels as far as you guys reviewed the scientific data? What's the noise damaging to...
Yeah, the brochure we had handed out by the girl that was here 2 weeks ago was talking about, too loud is 115 decibels for concerts in an enclosed space. Didn't have any reading for an outside concert, so we were speculating, which is why we walked around the park to get different readings from different areas.
So it was 123 decibels was what she had?
No, she was saying 115 was the...
115 was loud, too loud.
In an enclosed
area, in a concert.
Right, so outside you were getting 72 and...
We were at 94 right at the back of the amphitheater, and then 70, right at 70 at the property line.
I thought you said 70 at the parking lot and 60-something at the...
Well, if I walk, when I walk back in the woods, but I'm just saying 70 right around the walking trail.
I'm sure at his house it would have been a lot less than that, except for the train.
But you could hear it.
Yeah. So my concern is, and this was during normal, not inconvenient times, 6 to 8:30, I think it was, something like that. Your interpretation is that there isn't a problem then, or?
I thought it sounded okay and it wasn't too loud. I mean, the mayor was there. I mean...
For a while, yeah, we sat up there. In fact, when I first got there and Bob had that thing, me and Kirk Luther, I don't say we were hollering at each other, but we were discussing loudly so we could pick up on that machine. And I think it got up to 100 and something if we talked real loud.
Right there.
And right here, But if we did a normal conversation, I think we were like 80 or something like that, 85 or
But again,
something.
we were this far away.
Yeah. But to kind of give an idea, I think a typical conversation like this is probably in the 80s, I guess, according to that thing. And I think from what Kim had mentioned at the last meeting, that like if a manufacturing plant is in the town of Irmo and they are, like a whatever, and they generate a lot of noise in that manufacturing plant, then it can't be over 70
And that's in our ordinance.
at
and
the
that's
property line.
84, I think, was the danger level. Because if you go down to Lowe's and buy like a backpack blower or something, I think 84, 86 is where you need to be wearing hearing protection with that backpack blower. I mean, have you seen any of that, those numbers?
It doesn't matter what it is, you've got to have the ear protection.
Well, but I'm just saying what's on the manufacturer's warranty on the box, you know, the hazard level.
Yeah, I think for the town, they have to wire something.
It says ear protection, all of that.
Yeah.
So did you come to any conclusion using that concert versus?
Well, I think what they're going to try to do is use that concert and then November's or something.
To try to keep measuring.
The chamber has another concert. And then next March?
No, November, there's one this month.
November, but then again next year in March. Then they'll have some
March, April,
more.
May, and June.
And we'll try to take readings at all of these for a while until we get a better whatever.
The sound must carry tremendously.
Yeah. But you had mentioned, I think 3 times it got kind of loud, but the rest of the time it was okay.
Yeah, and I don't know if they had their speakers set up differently or
They were smaller, there weren't as many as, you know, like the orchestra. I mean, Mother's Finest was, we didn't have our, you know, meter at that time, but I bet they were 130, 140, 150 maybe. They were way up there.
So we'll have to,
there's an adjustment that could be made then.
yeah, we'll have to kind of play with it.
So was that too loud for you? Was that still too loud for you, Mr. Dan?
Well, I'm saying that those 3 numbers out of 15 were.
They were too loud.
Inconvenience, yes. But because of the time from 6 to 8:30 or whatever it wasn't as great of an inconvenience as the orchestra blasting at 11 o'clock at night or 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah, but it's either it was too loud or if it's not too loud. Is it too loud? Okay.
Yes, it's.
So we still disturbed him at, you know, at 75 decibels or 60 decibels. So the only solution that we're gonna have to do is figure out a way to suppress the sound or to abate or to block the sound from going across it. I said we have to look at putting up some walls or some kind of sound barrier.
Are you going to make them 50, 60, 70 feet high?
If that's what it takes
No,
to
we
stop
can't
him
do
from,
that.
he's saying he's being inconvenienced.
Well, we're going to have to figure out how to do, but
The man is saying it's too loud at that level.
there.
Well, now what I
This
heard
is
them
60
say
decibels.
was out of
Come on.
15, 20 songs, there were
It was
3
too
of them.
loud.
There were 3
It
of
was
them.
too loud.
That ain't what I heard them say. Let me
I heard him say too loud. He said it was inconvenience. He just said it.
Let me ask you again. Out of 20 songs, or 15 or whatever the number was, you mentioned there were 3 that were too loud.
Those were too loud. The songs were too
Out
loud.
of
The
those
band was
that
too
were
loud.
out of those that were too loud, are you?
6 minutes at a time. What my primary objective is to correct the orchestra and the unbearable noise.
Yeah.
So
That's how they care.
the other night, even though there was moments that were too loud, for the most part, it was a whole lot better than.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, it was either it was too loud or it wasn't. He said it was too loud.
That's for you, but that ain't what I heard him say.
That's what I heard him say. It was too loud. It was
That's fine.
inconvenience.
I'm not putting forth that we should buy 50-foot sound barriers.
Well,
Whatever the solution is, we don't know what the solution is.
Speakers that you could blow out.
We don't know what the solution is, if that's going to be the solution. But I'm saying we have to come up with a solution.
But I
That
think
means
by the time the chamber gets through with their concert, we'll probably have a good idea of what is a workable solution. And I'll just ask, since Elmer's here, did you hear it in Coatesville that Thursday?
From the Thursday, we heard nothing over there.
Okay. Okay.
good.
It's the,
Okay.
and
Heard that
the other
train.
question I had is on this garbage collection stuff. I understood council to say 7 o'clock in the morning, not later than 7 o'clock, putting your garbage to the curb. How soon can you put it out to the curb? Can it be like 48 hours and not
Yeah.
72 hours? I mean,
You can put it out earlier, you just got to put it out at least by 7 the morning they pick up. But you can put it out earlier.
Some people put it out 5 days early.
Yeah, some people leave it out there as,
Well,
but neighbor was saying they leave it out there all week.
Well, if you make an adjustment, could you sort of like say something like not earlier than 72 hours or whatever council deems necessary? And because you're saying not later than 7 o'clock in the morning that it should be put out. But it's got to be
Yeah,
not
we'll
earlier
have-
than so many days.
We'll have one more reading, because it was second reading, not yet, we'll have one more reading. So at third reading, we could probably add something like that, maybe we wanted to, not more than...
No earlier than 12 hours, because that'd be 7 o'clock the prior night. I wouldn't think you...
Yeah.
A lot of people put it out before they go to bed.
Remember that, so we can make a note of that. Yeah, we can look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Let's see, what... And anyone else who would like to address Irmo Town Council?
Mayor,
Yeah, okay.
I'd like to make a couple comments. First of all, at the Oprah Strut, had a great time there. My family had a great time there this year. I did go to the show on that Thursday night. I think if more people went to that, it would absorb more of the sound that we got out of the area. That was quite enjoyable too. I think it'd be great to continue to do that. I do understand the inconvenience for some folks. It'd be nice if you could kind of work that out. It was nice seeing neighbors there that I hadn't seen before, so that's I think it's a good venue to continue to do that kind of thing. We're going to have that park we should be using.
Exactly.
And I think that's what we're trying to figure out how to and
it's a shame that we have to legislate the length of grass and what to do with our garbage cans and all that stuff. By the way, I live at 600 Kimberly Court over in Archer's Court, and I'm dealing with our homeowners association there, and we've got some properties there that are vacant that people aren't taking care of. And they're not rental properties, they belong to tanks apparently. So it's a shame that that happens, but it is happening. And I'm seeing more and more of it in the state of South Carolina, in the county of Lexington, Richland County, and I'm seeing it here in Irmo. It's just something that's going on in society today, or at least around here. And that brings me to right out here in front of the police station where we had that big chasm opening in the street that I almost crashed into the other day, and it's been developing for quite a while. I noticed that we marked it off today, and they've started working on it, trying to correct that. But it shouldn't take that long to get things fixed. And I understand you all don't own roads, so we don't. It's generally a county or a state proposition to get that stuff done. However, somebody needs to identify it and make a call. So whether it was done or not, I don't know. I suspect probably not. And
I'll let you know what happened. The City of Columbia had a water leak there. They dug it up and left it like that.
And they left it.
well, that's fine.
They were called.
Well, somebody should have been on top of them every day. I almost crashed. I almost had a head-on coming back here the other day when somebody dodged around it before they put the things up. So somebody ought to do it. We have public safety folks, our police department here that drive around, and they ought to be on top of it. It's a public safety issue as well. It's a frustration I see all over the place. You drive down Columbiana Drive, which is supposed to be the premier shopping area in Columbia or in the area, and you look at that road, and it's getting to be like a dirt road, like back a country dirt road. It's pathetic. But we're paying. You can talk about this. I don't know how this 1 cent thing is going to turn out, but I'm here to tell you it's probably not going to change that anytime soon unless leadership gets involved.
Columbiana Drive wasn't on the list.
And they
It doesn't surprise me. And in fact, I read a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a couple of months ago, that it's on their schedule sometime to do it this fall. Well, I think that they said the same thing last year. And I understand that there's Richland County involved, Lexington County involved, probably some Irmo, might be a little spot where Irmo is involved. City of Columbia. And that's not all. That's not what I've been told anyway. Because I've checked into it numerous times.
That's the city in Richland County.
But we have got to, and it can start here.
Lexington's.
It can start here in our little city.
Back into the.
Take care of what is ours when we see it. If I see a pothole in front of my house, I'm calling Lexington County. They'll come out and fix it. Of course, they'll be fixing it again in another 5 weeks because they don't fix them right. That's another story. At least they do respond if you call Lexington County. A little frustration there, but it's a great place to live. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, be lost.
Anyone else who would like to address council?
I'll be brief. Keep the Midlands Beautiful is having a gala for the Green Midlands. This is our 25th anniversary of Keep the Midlands Beautiful. All the money that we raise at our gala goes to beautification projects in Lexington, Richland County, and the City of Columbia. So I would love to see Irmo represented at the gala. We will be doing a special tribute to the park since we did receive the Lowe's grant this year. Also wanted to let you know that this Saturday we are having a junk art recycling event at the Habitat Restore, which is over on US 1. It's a collaboration with Sunoco and Lexington County. So if you want to bring out your grandchildren or children, it's free and you get to build a bird house. It's just a way to educate kids on using recycled products. So it's free, and tell your neighbors, come out, and we'll have vendors there. Lowe's will be there signing up, and most creative and fun. Doesn't have to be the most beautiful or just creative. Birdhouse will win lots of prizes in different age groups. So you don't have to be a kid. This one's for adults as well. It's from 10 till 1 o'clock. Anything that I tell you about is always on keepthemidlandsbeautiful.org. So the Irmo American Recycle Day, which is November 15th, which we'll be doing at Crossroads. All the information is on there. It's electronics, it's shred. You can bring out 8 tires that day, residents.
8? Just 8?
Just 8. So take off 4 on each of your car and bring it out. And then also Richland County is going to bring out their 2 containers. So they're taking scrap metal. It's a little bit different. You can bring refrigerators this time or air conditioners. So they were taking Freon products. They're just not taking anything that has petrol or gasoline in it.
Petro.
So
that's Australian gas.
So also on the same day, Lexington County is holding an American Recycles Day event. It's also on the website, but they're taking hazardous materials. So if you have hazardous waste like paint and things like that, you have to register for that. Don't put it in kitty litter, which is what they tell you when you take it to the landfills and things like that. Just take it whole, but you have to register. Again, all of that information is on keepthemidlandsbeautiful.org. And I hope you'll come out. Crossroads, right across the street, they're there. But thanks so much for all your support. I really do appreciate Irmo Town Council supporting Keep the Midlands Beautiful. And this is a really, Irmo is a really beautiful part of South Carolina. Trees and everything that you've done to make it a beautiful place to live. So continue it. One other thing I'll say about the trash cans, it'd be nice if when you bring the trash cans to the road, if you ask them if they shut them. Because that way, the animals aren't pulling them all out and the wind blow, because that is one of the things that contributes to a lot of litter being blown around in your street. So probably not something you can put in an ordinance, but something to think about. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jack. Anyone else who'd like to address council? Seeing none. Executive session, is there anything needed? None needed? None of? No executive session. Next is adjournment. Is there a motion for adjournment?
So moved. Second.
Still getting sued?
All in favor?
Still getting sued? We getting sued?
Is everybody aye? Is everybody aye?
I'm sorry.
All in favor of adjournment?
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. We're all in favor.
I'm sorry, Barry.